It's been a while since I've done one of these videos. The last one I did was earlier last year. Your fragrance questions answered, video number 6. This is number 6 in a series of 5 that I've already done. This is the 6th one. And I'm planning on getting back on track and shooting more of these for you guys. So if you're interested in sending your questions to be answered, I'll let you know the address, the email address as well, so where you can send the emails. But if you want to find out about some of the questions I'm answering here today, 12 different questions, your fragrance questions, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's Sebastian. We're talking about fragrances today, but I'm answering your questions. I started this series during the pandemic. It was very popular, not with the first one, but the second, third, fourth, and then the 5th one I did last year. But I think what I'm going to do is do these like every quarter, at least one, and see if I can get back on track to doing them. They do take a long time to prepare, and you know some of the questions require fragrances, so I have to write down notes and things like that to prepare for them so that I can answer correctly. So I want to make sure they're done correctly and give you the best answers I can give you for the questions you guys have. Some of them don't require fragrances, although I'll talk about them, but some of them, or a lot of them, will require bottles and things like that, so I have to pull them and all that good stuff. If you want to send questions for future videos, LFSGQuestions@gmail.com is the email address. I always have that email address in the info box. Please don't send any questions, or if you want to get in touch with me and ask me questions, to the Scent Club customer service email address. Please don't do that. It's not an address that I keep in touch with. It's mostly for customer service on those Scent Club kits. So please send any questions you guys have, fragrance related, only to lfsgquestions@gmail.com. Also, please don't message me in social media chats and things like that. I just don't have time to respond to those. But I do go through the emails at lfsgquestions@gmail.com, and if I find a question that I can answer for you guys knowledgeably, I will, put it together here in an email, or sometimes I'll reply to your questions as well. So I've got 12 questions here that I'm answering from different people. Some of these go back a year or so. A lot of these are newer questions. But we're going to go ahead and do that. Just a little info also. So we dropped Mystery Box some time ago. It's been like 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks already now. Can't believe it's been so long ago already. It sold out really quickly, and we have been doing 3 mystery boxes so far. We've done 3. There will be a 4th one sometime within the next 3 to 4 months. Stay tuned for that. But we're putting together some bonus kits, mystery box kits, and I'll give you the announcement on that very soon. Most likely they'll be announced via email though, so stay tuned for that. Maybe they'll already be announced by the time this video airs as well. So stay tuned for that, but there will be a Scent Club kit soon, and also there will be another mystery box later down the line. So let's go ahead and get started with the questions. I have the questions here printed, and I'm going to read them, and then you'll see the question on screen as well, and then I'll talk about the fragrances that this particular question is asking for. So this one comes from George. Sebastian, hello. I'm a big fan of your channel. Thank you so much for all the great videos. I was searching for reviews on the 3 Ralph Lauren Polo Earth flankers, Antilles Vetiver, Provincial Sage, and Moroccan Rolly, but I couldn't find any. No one seems to be speaking about those 3. Since you have discussed the original Polo Earth previously on your channel, I wanted to ask if you plan to review those 3 or not. Curious to learn how they are. I love the original, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to blind buy the new ones. I figured you'd be the perfect person to ask. Thank you for what you do. Keep on making great videos. So, great question. I wanted to review these fragrances. This is Antilles Vetiver. This is Moroccan Neroli. And then finally, Provençal Sage. Not Provençal, Provincial. Is that how you say it? So these are 3 flankers that launched last year. after the initial one launched in 2022. Just all by itself, it's Polo Earth. So what happened with these three, they're not selling at Macy's and places like that, whereas I bought the original at Macy's. So I ordered it from Ralph Lauren last year. For something happened in the mail, it didn't come. So last year I ordered it like weeks before I was leaving to Europe, and finally it arrived just as I was taking off. And so I didn't really actually dig into these fragrances, but I've worn one of them. My favorite so far is the Vetiver. I had a bit of an issue with the Provincial Sage. And then I haven't really tested out Moroccan Rolly too much because it reminded me of the original Polo Earth. Now, if you don't know this collection, I think it's a pleasant collection of eau de cologne style freshies, citrusy, citrus florals, citrus greens and aromatics kind of notes to go in to create the fragrances. They sell for 100 ml for $110. Remember their eau de toilette concentration. They also have it in 40 ml for $70, and they have a 150 ml refill for $152. These are refillable bottles, and there are earth-conscious fragrances or bottles or what packaging. And then the packaging is like this. They're very simplistic, lightweight. Yeah, I like those because the big boxes are starting to become too heavy and too overwhelming. So that's perfect, and you can dispose them or recycle them as well. And then these are all unisex offerings. So they're easy to wear summertime fragrances, and I felt like if you were needing or missing your Mugler cologne, Polo Earth is a great alternative for it to begin with. It launched in 2022. Elise Banat created it. It features notes of neroli, petitgrain, orange flower, citron, bergamot, Haitian vetiver, musk, cedarwood, peppermint, green mandarin, ylang-ylang, geranium, Turkish rose, lavender, and sage. Lots of aromatics, some floral notes, of course lots of citrus floral notes, and then you've got citruses and in addition as well. And then I think the only woody note that's in here is the addition of the vetiver note. To me, the vetiver in this also acts a bit grassy, dry, grassy, effect happening here. But it's just an overdose of juicy citruses, juicy citrus florals, or beautiful, gorgeous citrus florals. And then, of course, some of the leaves and everything. It's like an eau de cologne fragrance. If you're at all used to Mugler's cologne, this is going to be perfect for you. Again, it's marketed unisex, just like Mugler cologne was or is still. I have seen it in Europe at the duty free, but it's not really selling a lot here in the States, and the status is a bit up in the air. But I think Polo Earth is a great alternative. So that's what I have to say for this. It is also eau de toilette, so it's very light wearing. So in the heat, I think it's going to be perfect. So the question was, what are the three other ones like? So let me tell you. So out of the three, my favorite is Antilles Vetiver, launched last year with the trio, and this is a fragrance created by Sonia Constant and Marie-Pierre Julien. I don't know who that perfumer is, but we all know Sonia Constant. She has her own line, LAK, and she's done a ton of Tom Ford fragrances. And for me, this is taking the vetiver in the original Polo Earth, boosting it up, and then kind of surrounding it with a lot of aromatics and, toning down the citruses a little bit, but nicely balancing it out. So it's not like totally removing the citruses. It's just more of the vetiver, but the vetiver is still kind of grassy and aromatic. Woody as well, but for me, I get more of a grassy effect with the vetiver here. When it's woody dense, it has more of a uber masculine characteristic about it. Here, with the fact that it's grassy, it's a bit more unisex. They're all three supposed to be unisex. I feel like the Provincial Sage is the most masculine out of the three because it acts a bit like Fougère. This would be the second more masculine one, and then finally the Moroccan Neroli is the unisex, if not leaning feminine. But this is vetiver, sage, bergamot, green mandarin, lavandin, cedarwood, vanilla bourbon, neroli, spider lily, Riesling. So these are the notes that are credited here. I took the notes off of the Ralph Lauren website. Very freaking confusing. Some of the notes didn't match because they would highlight some notes as these are the most prominent notes, but they don't list those prominent notes in the actual notes breakdown. And I was looking on some of the databases. There was actually a complaint. somebody complaining about Fragrantica, how they don't even write the right notes down. So I was like, okay, there's some confusion going on here. Ralph Lauren must have screwed it up because they're claiming sage in one place and clary sage in another, and lavender in one place and lavandin in another. So it was a bit confusing. But this actually is my favorite. I really like it. I like the addition of the vetiver, and then the vetiver here is very fresh, perfect. All four of these are perfect summertime fragrances, and if you were used to the original Polo Earth, I think the Antilles vetiver will be a nice graduation to something a bit more substantial. This is also a bit more potent than the original, and so I feel like it has some substance because of the vetiver note, which creates the aromatic, grassy, woody effect here. So again, out of the three new ones, Antilles vetiver is great, and I'm a fan of Sonia Constant's work, so she did a good job with that with Marie-Pierre Julienne, who I'm completely unfamiliar with. If you know this perfumer, let me know, put a comment down below. Sadly, this is the fragrance that was completely confusing on the Ralph Lauren website. This is Moroccan Neroli, and Moroccan Neroli is created by Elise Benat, who created the original. It's a Firmenich perfumer, whereas Sonia Constant and the other perfumer are Givaudan perfumers. So this time around with Moroccan Neroli, it's a co-creation between Elise Benat and Gabriella Celeroux. If you're familiar with Gabriella Celeroux's name, she does most of the KLE fragrances. So Elise Benat has done some amouage with Nathalie Lorson and things like that. So this original was created by her. Now Moroccan Neroli is co-created between her and Gabriella Celeroux. And to me, it's the most similar to Polo Earth. But there's some warmth with this one. As it's drying down, it gets to become a bit warmer, vanillic and resinous, whereas the original Polo Earth didn't have that. So the notes are neroli, ambrette, clary sage, ginger, lavender, blood grapefruit, gaiac wood, cedar, benzoin, apopanax, musk, and elemi. When you first spray this fragrance, it'll remind you of the original. Then it starts going in a different direction. Different things happen. I think it's less aromatic and also more musky than the original. The original has muskiness. This one is more musky than the original. But there's some zing and spice here. Lavender, I feel like, is also a bit pushed, a bit more, intensified. But that unique, zingy, spicy blood grapefruit note in here adds a unique citrusy twist to the fragrance where we didn't see it in the other. And then of course when it's settling down, we're getting some warmth from the benzoin, the apopanax, even the elemi. It's adding some substantial ambery effect in the base when it starts up fresh, then develops into the warmth in the base notes. I think all four of these are really pleasant fragrances. The price point on them is a little high for me. I think they're eau de toilettes, and so that's the disappointing part about them. If you can get a deal, like when you pop the Ralph Lauren website for the first time, it asks you, do you want to take 10% off of your first order or 15% off? Do it that way. And the problem with these three fragrances is it's not been released anywhere. I don't see them anywhere. Macy's didn't have them, and so I don't know why. That's why I ordered them last year from the Ralph Lauren website. So maybe they're going to get them. I don't know. We'll see what happens with them. I think they're pleasant. They're just a little overpriced for what they are. I think around $80 for 100 ml, I think is really nice for these. But see if they'll end up at the discounters or something. That way you'll get a discount. But my second favorite is Moroccan Neroli, but it's kind of tied with the Provincial Sage. I'll tell you about the Provincial Sage because it first kind of rubbed me the wrong way, then it kind of grew on me. But with the Provincial Sage, a fragrance created by Fanny Bal, and now this time we've moved to IFF. So all three of the new fragrances, they've gone to three of the largest perfumer firms, Firmenich, Givaudan, and also now IFF. This is Fanny Bal who created it. And recently I reported on her with Rabbit for Zoologist Perfumes. So she's done a good job with this one. This one's the most masculine leaning Also, it's a fougere style. I wouldn't call this your traditional fougere, but it's a fougere style. The sage note is really amped up here, so they're utilizing the combination of sage and lavender. They're calling it diva lavender. Then there's also lavandin and geranium. These are all notes that go in to create fougere fragrances. So it was a bit off-putting first few wears, but eventually it grew on me, and I like it. I felt a bit unpleasantness when I first sprayed it, but now I enjoy it. It's a very modern fougere, and even though it leans masculine, the whole entire range is a very unisex. Depending on which one you go with, some goes a little more feminine, and some goes a little more masculine. I feel like the vetiver and the sage are the more masculine. The other two, the Moroccan Neroli may be a bit on the feminine side, but it's unisex for me. All of these are unisex. And then the original Polo Earth, I feel like, is, you know, just unisex down the line. But this has notes of sage, rosemary, basil, diva lavender, lavandin, vetiver, bourbon geranium, petitgrain, neroli, bergamot, and sandalwood. And yeah, it's pleasant. It's grown on me. I enjoy all the aromatics and citruses together. This one doesn't get warm like the previous fragrance. It doesn't have any warm notes. The only thing that would be considered somewhat warm is the sandalwood, and I don't really consider sandalwood or woody notes to be warm. So in the end, it's just all about the citruses and the aromatics and herbal notes, and then the settling into the woods. The other thing that's in here is also the neroli. The neroli is giving us this kind of citrusy floral touch, which is a floral note, not rather than a citrus note or you know, an aromatic note. It's basically a citrus floral note, which for me, that's what this fragrance line is all about. Neroli, orange blossom, basically the fruit of the bitter orange tree. And then some of them are using some of the fragrances. I think all of the fragrances, if I remember correctly, are using the leaves as well. So you got that kind of green bitterness. Anyway, those are my thoughts on these 4 fragrances. I know this portion of the video is a bit long, but there was 4 fragrances I was talking about. If I had to pick, Antilles Vetiver is my favorite. I think the 3 new ones are my favorites versus the old one, because the old one is simplistic, basically an easy fragrance to wear. But I would go in this order. I would go Antilles Vetiver, Moroccan Neroli, and then Provincial Sage, and then go to the original. But obviously, I've used quite a bit of the original. All of these are you know, refillable, as I was saying, which is kind of cool. And the refill bottles are better value once you have this. But how much do you go through this stuff? Anyway, that's all I have for this portion of the video. Let's move on to the next question. Okay, so the next question comes from, I don't know the name of the person, but it says, "Hey Sebastian, big fan of your channel. Since I know you picked up a bottle of Le Labo Lavande 31, have you thought about shooting a review for it? Did you not like it? I really am considering purchasing a bottle, but would really love to know your take on the scent. Your help and videos are very appreciated. Hopefully you can post a review soon. Thanks, Sebastian." Yes, I did buy a bottle last year. This launched in September of last year, and that's when I bought a bottle. So I had received a sample at that time. I asked for them. Usually they charge, but they know me, so they give me a sample. So I asked for a sample. I wore the sample, and I started feeling underwhelmed. So I said, you know what? When you get the bottles of Le Labo fragrances, you know, created for you, they'll, you know, put the juice in there and put it in a bottle and all that kind of stuff. Make it look like a little show there. They're not putting the fragrance brand new together. It's all finished liquids. They're just putting them with alcohol. You know, you're supposed to leave it for at least 2 weeks. This is what they say. You know, let it macerate, maturate, and macerate. I felt like at that time it was underwhelming a bit. Smelling great, but soft. Very, very soft. I said I'll let it go. I left it September, October, November, December, then on to January, February, March. I was in Europe in March. Came back in April is when I started wearing Lavande 31. Still is very, very soft. It's a soft fragrance. Smelling really, really great. The last several fragrances from Le Labo have been really soft, unfortunately. I don't know why they're doing that. Is it because of the Estee Lauder arrangement? I don't know. But Le Labo's Lavande 31 launched in 2023. It's a fragrance created by Daphne Bouget. She's done a lot of fragrances for Le Labo. She works over at Firmenich. 100 ml for $322, 50 ml for $230, or 15 ml for $99. Most likely there's a 1 liter bottle as well of this, and I didn't get the price for that, unfortunately. I'm sure nobody's going to buy that. The notes for Lavande 31 are lavender, bergamot, neroli, amber, musk, and tonka. It's interesting also, since Daphne Bouget has created so many fragrances for Le Labo, I believe she's married to one of the owners or founders of Le Labo. It can't be the owner anymore because it's under Estee Lauder. One of the founders, I think. This is what I've heard. I'm not 100% sure. And that's why she's getting all these gigs, because she also created Myrrh 55, which also launched last year. But this is the second 31 fragrance that Daphne Bouget has created. She also created Rose 31. So this is a very modern take on lavender, and that's what I like about it. If you're familiar with something like Lavender Extreme from Tom Ford or Molinard's Lavande, which I have a comparison video on the channel, you can go catch that. This is nothing like that. Even like Caron pour un homme de Caron, it's not like that. This is a very modern lavender. Modern in a way that it doesn't feel old. For me, Molinard's Lavande, Tom Ford's Lavender Extreme, Caron pour un homme de Caron seemed like classic lavender. Here we've got a very modern lavender. It's basically new school rather than old school. That's my idea, and that's how it wears on me. I love the smell. I absolutely love it. The combination of the aromatic touches of the lavender, and it's not like that. Like I said, it's not like that old school lavender. It's not even like the lavender that you would smell. Because when I see lavender bushes, I rub my fingers and hands through it so I can smell it on them. This doesn't smell like that. And maybe it's because it's mixed in with the citruses, especially the neroli and the bergamot in here. That's kind of creating more fresher take or more of a softer take on the lavender, because lavender can be very herbal. Like you can smell a floral herbalcy about it when you actually smell the actual thing, but here it's softened up. I think it's the neroli flower that's doing it, because what I'm getting is a really potent variety of lavender mixed beautifully with the neroli, which is very prominent here as well. Juicy citruses also, eventually settling to an amber. It's quite musky because also it reminds me a little bit of their Te Mate fragrance that came out like 2 years ago. Or was it the year before? It reminds me of the muskiness of that and also the softness of that, whereas that is even softer than this. So it's a very like skin scenty kind of fragrances the last couple of times. I felt like the Myrrh 55, for me was a little louder, even though that was pretty soft as well. And then there's a Tonka edition here as well, which is what creates like a modern fougere experience here. If you're into the idea of a fougere, maybe check this out. For me, it's soft, but sometimes I've said this in videos or even to people, and they've come back and said, no, it's really strong on me. But for me, this is wimpy. Sadly, it's a quite wimpy fragrance. But once again, it's a really great smelling fragrance. It's a really great take on a modern fougere. It's unisex, slightly leaning masculine. I like that about it. But I just wish it was more potent. Longevity-wise, I would say it's not like an all-day event, which makes it disappointing because you're paying $322 for a bottle of Lavande 31 and the fragrance doesn't last all day. But then again, it's my sensitivity. Some people are so sensitive because they don't wear a lot of fragrance. This might come off beast mode, but I know beast mode. I've got so many fragrances that are beast mode, and this next to them, it's not that. So maybe it's just because I have the experience with all the different fragrances, this one just comes off wimpy. But you know, like I said, for some people, I think this is going to be potent, and there's going to be a lot of fans. And Le Labo has a lot of fans. And I don't know, some of you probably are not fans of Le Labo because the prices have gone way up, and also they're all under Estee Lauder. But I follow the brand. I enjoy a lot of their fragrances, but a little disappointed with this because it is a bit on the wimpy side. But let me know your thoughts on it. Put a comment down below. I'd like to find out from everybody that has, you know, experience with Lavande 31. What do you get with this one? Do you get the softness that I'm getting? maybe you're getting a, you know, more intense experience. But that's why I left this fragrance until April, because I was just waiting for it to just maturate. It didn't do much different than what the sample was doing for me. So yeah, it's a bit disappointment. I posted about it on Instagram several weeks ago or a month or so ago. You can go catch that post on Instagram as well. I said it's soft, it's musky, soft. It's a great smelling lavender fragrance, but comes off of very, very soft. I'm a fan of Daphne Bouget's fragrances, and I've been a big fan of a lot of her creations, not only here for Le Labo, but also for other brands. She's done a lot of work for L'Artisan Parfumeur and many other brands. And if you search for her name on the channel, you'll see a lot of different fragrances pop up. But she's done quite a few Le Labo fragrances, and some of them are my favorites, like Bergamot 22. Love, is it 22? I haven't spoken about that fragrance in ages. Yeah, Bergamot 22 is one of my favorites. Once again, I think through reformulation that has gotten watered down, but it's one of the most beautiful, beautiful citrus fragrances. I absolutely love the way that smells. She's also created Rose 31, another one that I'm a big fan of. Really, really love that fragrance. It smells fantastic. Tonka 25, she's created, which is actually a fragrance I covered in the last Your Fragrance Questions Answered video number 5. You can go find out about it. Somebody was asking me, it smells stinky, they said, because the fragrance itself has a lot of musk, and it's also a little bit of the animalic type of musk. It smells sweaty. So the question was, why is it like that? And yeah, it's for sure, if you check that one out. Neroli 36 is another fragrance that Daphne Bouget has created. Myrrh 55, and as I said, it came out around the same time as Lavande 31. Other fragrances include Cedrat 37, Bigarade 18, Citron 28, Lee 41, Mousse de Chêne 30. So she's done quite a bit, and I think, yeah, she's connected to one of the founders of Le Labo. If you have the story, let me know. I don't really, you know, follow the personal lives of these brands as much, but this is something I was told, and also I think I read somewhere as well. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on Le Labo's Lavande 31. Put a comment down below, and that basically answers the question. I just wish this fragrance was a little more potent, but as a smell, I really do like it. Even when you're wearing it, you experience the softness. It's not like this. It's like this more, you know? Like, it's not screaming. It's, you know, quiet, a bit shy. Anyway, that's all I can say for you on Le Labo's 31, Le Labo's Lavande 31, and then we're moving on to the next question. The next question is actually 2 questions into one. 2 questions by the same person came, and I'm answering both questions, so you get a bonus question here. So question 3. I recently discovered your YouTube channel and enjoy your videos very much. I have 2 questions if you decide to do another questions answered video. And this is what I'm doing, so I featured it here. 1. I recently discovered DECANT companies, but since I'm not very sophisticated about scents, how do I know if they're sending me the legit products or fakes? Both companies I've tried say they hand decant from the originals into sterile glass vials. However, they often don't have the scents I'm looking for, especially new scents. I don't know which companies to watch out for. Unfortunately, I didn't write down the companies she was referring to. It wasn't any companies that I'm familiar with. I personally don't buy decants. I actually do not like decants personally. I actually like to experience the fragrances from the bottles. Really just spraying from the bottles, because I experience the fragrances more. Samples or decants, the atomizers are cheap. Sometimes they don't even work, and they don't spray the way I want to spray. If I'm spraying from the actual original bottle, they're going to spray much better. So the atomizers for decants just don't spray very well, and so I'm not a big fan of them. But see, these bottles give me the full experience. And from samples, like I said, the atomizers sometimes don't work. They don't spray the way I want them to spray. It's just not something I enjoy. But we do provide Scent Club, which is something I would recommend. Claudia is her name. Scent Club is a great way for you to discover new fragrances. We have the original Scent Club with 3 different fragrances that I announced what they are. And then we also do the mystery box, which are, you know, mystery samples. Either 12 to 20 different samples. But how do you tell if the actual fragrances are original? So you're gonna have to take their word on the company's word that they're using legit products. If you get a sample and you suspect that it's not legit, best thing to do is go and test it against another the legit fragrance. If you have a little extra cash, what I would do is buy a few samples of fragrances that you know you can go compare against at a store. Let's say you have a small niche store nearby and they have 1 or 2 brands that you're familiar that this store is carrying on their DECANT website. So order those and then test them out. If you have some left over, take them into the store, and maybe the store has some strips. You can take your own strips and just do a couple tests to see if they're similar. Now the only thing you're not going to find similar is, what if they have a newer bottle and the new bottle hasn't macerated or maturated like the bottle that the store has, or vice versa. So sometimes they're gonna not be, I mean, they'll smell correct, but performance-wise they won't be the same, or sometimes they won't even smell correct. But most of the time, this is the best thing I would recommend you do. Otherwise, I don't know how to tell if a company is selling legit products. There's no way. You're just going to have to take their word for it. But you can also tell, because if you have been doing this for a while, if you're new, this is going to be a bit complicated, but your nose can tell something is off, it's not smelling correct. And if you're doing your research online, you're looking up notes, well, I thought I saw apples in the notes for that fragrance. Where the hell are the apples in this fragrance? So something is off. Then you can, think about contacting them, or maybe, do that test I told you. But other than that, I don't think there's any way that you can really, be legit, like for sure guarantee that the company is selling you legit products. But, if they have all of these fragrances, they're probably most likely legit. Because if a company is selling these products and they have hundreds and hundreds of bottles and they're still in business, because if they're selling fakes, most likely they're not gonna be staying in business too long, because people will be complaining. 1 or 2 other things I should say. Decanting is also good to do right away. Like when you order decants or samples, use them right away, because they do go bad because they're in bottles that are like open. So not only will they disappear, like vanish, because the air touches them, and I've gone back to bottles where there's nothing left, even though, like I said, I don't do the decants and samples, but people send them to me all the time, and I store them away in drawers or boxes, and I come back, there's nothing left in there. So they evaporate into thin air. So use them up really quickly, so you get you get to test them, and of course make sure you can appreciate the fragrance or not, and go out and buy a bottle. Now sometimes you'll think it's a legit company, and you do go buy a bottle and they smell nothing alike. But sometimes, like I said, when you go buy a bottle, it's the brand new bottle. It might come off a little different than maybe the decanting company is selling, from an older bottle. But beyond that, I think if they smell alike, then most likely they're legit company doing the work. But the 2 companies that she had mentioned, I don't know them personally, but I don't buy decants or samples. I don't enjoy them myself. And going back to Scent Club, if you're interested in discovering new fragrances, look out for my Scent Club drops, either the original kits that are 3 5 ml decants that I advertise what they are, or the mystery box is samples that are mystery of what's inside. Okay, the next question is also the 2-part question from Claudia. I have read conflicting information about the use of animal products in perfumes. Is it true that the musk used in perfumes is no longer from animal sources? I'm not concerned about ambergris since the whales aren't being killed for that, but what about civet? So anyone selling fragrances in Europe are under the IFRA regulations, and they can't really use any kind of animalic, especially civet. They would have to use a synthetic civet. Here in the USA, I believe you can use civet here, but I don't think it's done that much. There might be a few perfumers here and there that know sources of getting the civet and using it. But I think next year we are going through some regulations as well in the States. So I think we have our own IFRA coming out soon from what I have read. And the perfume industry is going to be regulated. But the majority, probably like 95%, 98%, maybe even 99% of the perfumes are not using animalic products, at least the ones that are inhumane, that require the killing of the animals. I've bought fragrances that have still use it, but I try not to. I found out afterwards that they've used the real thing. But the majority of the fragrances that you're buying nowadays, any of the department stores or the niche shops that you might visit, they would not be selling the actual fragrances that feature the animalic products. If you want to find out more about animalic fragrances, I have a lot of animalic fragrances videos on the channel. I am a fan of animalic fragrances. I am a fan of civet, but in vintage fragrances more than modern civet, which is very synthetic smelling, which to me doesn't add a lot if you boost it up with a lot of civet in the fragrances, the synthetic variety. If you have a little bit, it'll do wonders to the fragrances, even if it's synthetic. But I feel like the civet in the old days, the real thing, made fragrances smell so good compared to the synthetic civet now, which to me is not that good, unfortunately. Unless you know how to do a really good job with the blending, it stands out like a sore thumb. And I can't stand. I mean, like if you're overdosing your fragrance with synthetic civet, to me it basically just smells like shit. I don't want to wear that shit. Excuse my language. But yeah, I like my animalics, but just the right amount, just enough to do some things to the fragrance to enhance it, to take it to the next level. But I don't want to wear a fragrance that's doused in civet and all it does is smell like crap, basically. So the perfumer should know how to use the right amount. But again, most of the perfumers nowadays, most of the brands nowadays will not use the real animalic civet. Some will, but most of the time, 99% I feel like are not using the real thing. So hopefully that answers your question. And once again, if you're into the idea of discovering new fragrances, Scent Club is a way to go. Those are all legit, sent by the perfume brands to me, and we fill the bottles and of course box the samples of mystery box. So they're legit stuff coming from the actual brands, and I coordinate with the brands themselves. So they're going to be sending the real thing to us. Question number 5. Hi there, I saw your video on discontinued perfumes and you mentioned CIEL the gum. I've been searching for that fragrance for a couple of months now and I would love to purchase it from you if you sell it. And if you don't, can't you inform me of a website or a place where I can find it? Thank you, Najla. Alright, first of all guys, I don't ever sell any of the fragrances that I have. Anything that's sent to me or purchased, I'm a collector, so that's why I have this room of perfumes. It's a perfume library. I've got thousands of bottles. I've got over 5,000 bottles of perfume in here, and I keep 99.9% of everything that I get. If it's a really, really bad fragrance, I get rid of it, but I don't sell anything. Nothing. So CIEL the gum is mine to keep. I've got 2 different versions. I've got one from May 2015 here. That's the manufacture date. And I've got another bottle which I don't have here to show you, which was manufactured a little later than this. Both of them are really, really great. But if you caught a video recently I did a video on a Maison Francis Kurkdjian fragrance called Reflets d'Ambre, this one right here. This is a exclusive fragrance that has just come out for Harrods anniversary. So Harrods is celebrating 130 years, I believe. I'm forgetting the years. And Maison Francis Kurkdjian has created a fragrance called Reflets d'Ambre, which to me is a redo of CIEL de Gum. Not identical, but it's a similar idea. It smells kind of similar, not the same. So Reflets d'Ambre, I believe, is going to be a great alternative for you if you are still looking for a bottle of CIEL de Gum. Just keep in mind, they're not identical. At least to me, they don't act identical. But let me show you the colors of the juice as well. Because the other one, the more recent bottle of CIEL de Gum I have, is closer to the color of this in comparison to this one I have, which is from 2015. As you can see, the color's so different. So the formula must have changed. And CIEL de Gum was at one time an anniversary fragrance for, I keep saying CIEL de Gum and people correct me, it's Gum. CIEL de Gum. So CIEL de Gum is the Gum store. So I'm used to saying gum. Gum sounds weird, but CIEL de Gum is was created for the Gum store in Moscow. And that fragrance, it's interesting, during the pandemic, like in 2021, I posted about it. And people went crazy about it because I had spoken a lot about this fragrance on this channel and also on the previous channel. And I think I had left it aside and forgotten about it, and I pulled it out during the pandemic. People went crazy. And at that time, in 2021, when I posted about it, it could have been 2020 also, they were still selling bottles at MFK. But later I realized they stopped selling it and something happened, and so they stopped it. And now, 4 years later, we have Reflets d'Ambre, which is this. Again, it is a redo of CIEL de Gum, but it's not identical. It seems not as beefy and not as well-rounded. It seems a bit flat. And here we go again with maturation, maceration thing. Is this what's going to happen nowadays with fragrances? This is another whole topic that I need to do a video on. Everybody is saying you got to let the fragrance maturate and macerate. And I'm like, who buys fragrances to do that anymore? People that buy fragrances, most people, maybe 99%, not a collector like me, doesn't have the time and money to wait around for a fragrance to maturate. So anyway, but maybe you have to do that with this one too. I don't know. But right now it's selling at Harrods. Hopefully they're not out of stock since it is an anniversary edition, so maybe they have plenty. 70 ml for $251. If you're in the USA, you're going to have to pay like $45 shipping to receive this, so it'll be about $300 for 70 ml. It's Eau de Parfum, has notes of pink pepper, grandiflorum jasmine, hedione amber, cistus labdanum, vanilla, and patchouli. Similar notes to the other. The other one they listed notes of amber, pink pepper, vanilla, and jasmine. Here they've got hedione added, the cistus labdanum, which is basically creating the amber accord. And they've also added patchouli, which they didn't list for the original CIEL de Gum. But this is the best alternative for you now. The best way for you to get CIEL de Gum is to, or Gum, CIEL de Gum, is to buy Reflets d'Ambre. Let me know if you've gotten your nose on it. Put a comment down below. Maybe you found a bottle of CIEL de Gum and you're happy with it. Put a comment down below. And if you didn't know about CIEL de Gum, do you like the idea of it? And would you go get a bottle of Reflets d'Ambre now? If you live in the UK, probably best. So the conversion rate is also probably better there for the price of this. And then you don't have to pay shipping either. So anyway, those are my thoughts on this particular question. Let me know your thoughts on Maison Francis Kurkdjian fragrances, CIEL de Gum, and also Reflets d'Ambre. Do you think Reflets d'Ambre is going to be moved into the permanent collection? Because that's not what happened with CIEL de Gum, obviously. So what's going to happen with this? I mean, how long will Harrods celebrate their anniversary? Because, you know, they left CIEL de Gum for years, like 15, 20, 20, like 6 years it was selling as an exclusive in that store and also on the MFK website. I first bought my bottle of CIEL de Gum back in 2015 at the MFK store in Paris on the Rue de Algiers, I think is what it's called. This tiny little store. And then I ordered the few others for some clients and the friends, and then you know, for myself, this bottle right here from the website. They've been they had free shipping at that time too. But anyway, maybe Reflets the Amber will be a permanent collection, but I have a feeling it's not going to be. Anyway, hopefully that answers your question. Let's move on to the next question. All right, it looks like I mixed up my questions. The last question was number 5, but I skipped number 4, so we're going back to 4. Hi Perfume Guy, my name is Whitney and I've been watching your videos on YouTube for some time now. Thanks so much for all the helpful content. I'm emailing you to see if you can help me solve my dilemma. I've gotten more and more into fragrances over the past few years, but still have yet to find a signature scent that I can wear all the time. I've invested countless resources into finding an everyday scent that really embodies my personality. I'm looking for something light, delicate, feminine, sweet, extremely clean and elegant. I like white florals and aldehydic clean scents. I will say that I love Byredo's Blanche and M. Micallef's Royal Musca, just to give you an idea of my taste in fragrance. Do you have any recommendations for me for a signature scent that matches the personality mentioned above and fits my perfume tastes? Much appreciated, Whitney. So Whitney likes a certain kind of airy, musky, clean, soapy aldehydic fragrances. So aldehydic fragrances do generally go soapy. I was going to pull Acne Studios from Frederick Malle. I decided not to. I've actually just spoken about it in a review. So you can go catch that video. And in that video, I also recommend a few other aldehydic fragrances, and one of them was Blanche, because it does remind me a little bit of Blanche, but also it reminds me a little bit of Couleur Premier from the house of Les Eaux Primordiales. So Whitney likes Byredo's Blanche and also M. Micallef's Royal Musca, which is this. So Royal Musca is not aldehydic, whereas Blanche is. So I was trying to find a nice balance between some aldehydics and some musky fragrances, but Blanche seems to have a lot of musk against the aldehydes, and Micallef's Royal Musca is all musk with some warmer notes and lots of flowers and woods. So both of them are really great, completely different, but I can see her taste. And I was trying to make a nice collection of fragrances to recommend. And the first one I'm going to recommend is Couleur Premier from the house of Les Eaux Primordiales. I think this is the exact kind of fragrance Whitney is looking for. Might be a bit too close to Blanche, but perhaps she might like this style a lot. And so she might want to have a couple of different ones that are kind of similar. This has notes of aldehydes, ambroxan, loads of musks, peony, pear, jasmine, and rose. So it has the flowers. It also has a little bit of the fruits that Royal Musca has. It's not the same fruits, but it has some fruits like the Royal Musca has as well. So it's the musks, the ambroxan, the aldehydes. It's clean, it's soapy, it's fizzy, it's floral, very, very musky, and it's a perfect fragrance to wear. If you like clean fragrances, airy, fizzy, sparkling, musky, this is definitely one for you to try. And if you're familiar with Blanche, you're probably going to recognize the type of smell it is. It's just crisp and clean and perfectly soapy laundry kind of idea comes to mind as well. So that's Couleur Premier. I've spoken quite a bit about that brand. I've done some videos shot in their castle. If you want to go catch those, please do. The next fragrance I would recommend is Xerjoff's Apollonia. This one right here. Are you familiar with Apollonia? Apollonia is such a gorgeous fragrance, but it is definitely airier and closer to the skin. It's ethereal once again. White musk, orris, white flowers. It's powdery, it's creamy, buttery, very musky, and also white flowers do come in. There's some jasmine, maybe some magnolia, some, it's just like a nondescript collection of flowers. But I think this is perfect. I think this is more in line with Royal Musca. Maybe a combination of Blanche and, with Royal Musca. But doesn't have aldehydes, but it has loads of musk. And the idea of flowers, it's clean, it's elegant, and just a pleasure to wear. It's not a loud fragrance or anything like that. But Apollonia, I think, is a great, great recommendation for Whitney. I think she would definitely appreciate this one, especially if she likes both Blanche and Royal Musca. Of course, I can't forget Lazy Sunday Morning from the house of Maison Margiela. It's an aldehydic fragrance. It's musky, plus it has flowers. It's just a really laid-back, cozy, soapy, clean fragrance. And it has those flowers that she's asking for. It is kind of feminine. A lot of these fragrances are perhaps a bit feminine leaning, but I mean, a man can totally pull them off. But if you like the idea of musks and aldehydes, definitely Maison Margiela's Lazy Sunday Morning will satisfy. This is also more designer level. I mean, of course, the Xerjoff is definitely very niche, but here we have something a little more designer level. It also doesn't break the bank. But Lazy Sunday Morning, I've recommended that quite a bit. And this one I'm also going to recommend. This is BDK's 312 Saint Honoré, this one right here. And once again, it's a very ethereal fragrance. It's musky, clean, airy, ethereal, floral, just a really gorgeous fragrance. It does have a little bit of orange blossomy thing happening here against the vegetal notes of the Angelica, and then of course there's iris here, the iris and Angelica providing a powdery effect, which is totally captured here perfectly, nicely contrasted with the orange blossom. But there's loads of musks in here, Ambrostar, white musk, and Ambroxan, to extend the life of the fragrance. It's gorgeous. Check it out if you don't know that one. But this next one's super amazing from the house of Chanel. It's 1957. And this one is a musk bomb. It's really, really musky. And it's also aldehydic, because Chanel uses aldehydes, loads of them. And this one also has orange blossom. So just a really beautiful creation. It's a top 5 Les Exclusives fragrance for me. It's really, really nicely done. White musk times 3. Aldehydes, orange blossom, orris, cashmeran, bergamot. It's truly, truly musky. It's citrus floral, powdery. Wears just gorgeous, and then it's perfect in the heat of the summer, I think. I think this is perfect all year round, but for me this comes alive in the heat. 1957 from the house of Chanel. And then this one, recently I spoke about it in a video, Ella K's Musk K. Are you familiar with this one? Wonderful fragrance, very clean, very soapy. And even though they're not mentioning aldehydes here, I feel like there's a little bit of aldehydes in this. So it's white musk, sand lily, white pepper, salty iris, mangrove driftwood, vetiver. So perhaps it has a bit of a marine thing, but not quite. I'm not getting marine here. It's just a very clean, crisp fragrance, very musky, and some floral touches as well. There's no aldehydes in here, so it doesn't have that kind of fizziness. Faintly, maybe there might be a reminder of it, but for me, it's just a clean musk. Floral, musky, wonderful fragrance. Ella K's Musk K, perfect fragrance. And then moving on to the house of L'Orchestre Parfum. It's Mono Cashmere, this one right here. This one was recently featured in my Scent Club mystery box. And once again, we've got a really beautiful combo of musks and also aldehydes and cashmere, because this is called Mono Cashmere after all. This is a music-inspired fragrance house, so everything is musically themed. This is featuring musks, cashmere, iris, bergamot, aldehydes, ambrette, pear, jasmine, cedarwood, ambroxan. Interesting, I always see pear next to ambrette. It's almost like it enhances the ambrette note, but it's beautiful. This is a really great musky fragrance with the aldehydic touches. Some light fruitiness comes in, and all the molecular musky notes are in here as well to make for a really nice fragrance. So it's Mono Cashmere from the house of L'Orchestre Parfum. A few more fragrances. This next one's from the house of Parfum the Empire. It's Le Cri de la Lumière. This one right here. This is it's musky, but it's focusing on ambrette, and the ambrette is providing a little bit of an eau de vie vibe. It's a bit fruity, a little boozy. It's definitely here, but lots of Florentine iris. Ambrette is known for musk, so it's the ambrette musk we're talking about here. And I was trying to make the list be a little bit more variety rather than everything starting to smell alike. This one has the muskiness, but there's those fruitiness in there. And of course, Royal Musca from Micallef has the fruitiness. But lots of powder and a bit rose as well. There's also a little light patchouli thing happening in here as well. But the combination is great. I think she should definitely try this one just to see if she likes it. But really a gorgeous fragrance. One of the best from this house. Le Cri de la Lumière is the fragrance from the house of Parfum the Empire. And then we've got something called Paper Soap from the house of JAYNE. This one right here. Are you guys familiar with JAYNE? This was once again a very musky fragrance with loads of aldehydes. So the combo is really wonderful, fizzy, sparkling, effervescence with all that clean musk here. It is more acting like white musk rather than musk that can go animalic. But there's rose here, lily of the valley, jasmine, lavender, geranium. There's definitely a very soapy quality about this. Really wonderful soapy fragrance from the house of JAYNE. Definitely check it out. It's a Japanese house. Really great offerings. More indie-esque. Kind of unusual but really cool. And the last fragrance I'm going to recommend is Armani's Musk Chamal. So this is wonderful. It's musky, powdery, vanillic, aldehydic. It eventually settles to an amber with some citruses, rose and jasmine. So it's floral, it's aldehydic, it's musky. Some sweetness comes in with the vanilla and the amber in here. It's so, so good. Really, really wonderful. This is not a molecular fragrance. Not a lot of molecular notes are mentioned. Yeah, it's more powdery musk, but like a white musk with some sweet gourmandish touches that are under there, and you know, with the flowers and things like that. Really gorgeous fragrance from the Armani Privé collection. Sadly, they pulled that collection from San Francisco's Neiman Marcus. They're bringing in a lot of other things. I don't know why, but maybe the brand's not selling. Are you guys a fan of Armani's Privé collection? Let me know. Put a comment down below. And that's the last fragrance for you guys. Hopefully, Whitney will be happy with those selections and she'll find a really great fragrance. If you guys have any other suggestions, do let us know. Put a comment down below as well. Next question. Question number 6, actually. Good afternoon, sir. Wanted to say I love your taste in fragrance and your wisdom and knowledge in the game. Personally, I've been going through some hard times lately, and I recently saw your video about uplifting fragrances. Wondering or hoping you would make an updated uplifting fragrances video for this year. God bless. Thanks for reading. A little sad, but yes, I'm happy to do answer the question in a video here with uplifting fragrance choices. If you are interested in uplifting fragrances, there's already a video on the channel from about 3.5 years ago. But here's a more modern take on some uplifting fragrances. Starting off with Fleur's Tangerine Boy. So this is such an uplifting fragrance. It's sunshine in a bottle in a citrus form. It's loads of lemon, ginger, black pepper. There's apples, tangerine, jasmine. As soon as you put your nose on this fragrance, your senses come alive. You wake up and it, you know, brings happiness to your mind and your face. So it just becomes very, very uplifting. And if you're having a downtime, these are the kind of fragrances that I'm going to recommend here in this section of the video, or in this video, for you to try. I mean, we go through these challenging times and things like that. And whenever I am feeling like that, I just, you know, put my nose against the sprayer because it's so good, so uplifting, so happy. It's like I said, the sunshine in a bottle. It's a gloomy day out there. This is the kind of fragrance you need. And Tangerine Boy is a tangerine dream come alive. It's just so juicy and citrusy and a bit zingy. And just perfect kind of fragrance to wake up my senses. Even like if you're just waking up in the morning, you're groggy and, you know, the day is just not starting fast enough. You're moving slow. You know, spritz some on. It's so good. Spray some on and wake up your senses. It's good. Really, really juicy. The next fragrance I'm going to recommend is Celine's Parade. This one right here. Another really uplifting fragrance, and this is probably the most uplifting and the citrusiest fragrance from the house of Celine. But I do have to say, their Cologne Celeste is what it's called, is probably more citrusy, but it's an eau de cologne style. Here we've got something with substantial notes, but it's loads of vetiver, the neroli here, bergamot, oak moss, and musk. So this has the DNA of the original collection of fragrances, but Cologne Celeste, to me, seems not part of the connection of the DNA. But this is so uplifting, so beautiful, so happy. Neroli is one of my most happiest notes. Neroli Orange Blossom. That orange tree is just completely the happiest trees. Just they produce so much happiness, I think. Not only the flowers and the leaves, but also the fruits it produces. So anything with neroli, juicy citruses from the orange tree, even the orange blossom, even the petitgrain note, brings happiness to me. And of course, Parade does really, really perfectly, because Parade is just like it used to be Bergamot 22, and I've recommended that quite a bit. In fact, it's featured in the other uplifting fragrances video. I left it off. There's one from that list here that you'll find out what it is, but Parade has taken over kind of Bergamot 22 because it's so good. It smells so fantastic. It's got the sexiness as well. It's just really, really uplifting, beautiful fragrance. Another one would be Louis Vuitton's Pacific Chill, this one right here. Now this one is basically summertime. Summertime makes me happy because I almost feel like it's just so much life out and about with the sun shining and everything like that. And this one, to me, it's fruity and also citrusy at the same time. And there's a pulpiness here as well. So it's got a pulpy effect, giving you the idea of a kind of a health drink, a fruit smoothie kind of a thing. So those are always like happy, uplifting for me. But the smell, it's just happy. There's some fruits that are giving me the tropical fruity vibe. The citruses are juicy. Again, as I said, it's pulpy. And when you're drinking a smoothie, like a fruit smoothie, it's just like pulpy. Like there's a thickness about it, and that's how this smells. It almost reminds me of walking into like a Jamba Juice. I don't know if you guys have ever been to a Jamba Juice. There's a certain smell in there. It's basically smoothies. This reminds me of it, and that's really happy and uplifting. Again, these are all uplifting, happy fragrances. If you have feeling down and things like that, it's a mood booster, just giving you this really burst of happiness and joy. Just smell some of these, and I think you'll be on your way to having a great day. The next fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is the one that was featured in the last video. It's Nectar, this one right here. Man, anything with orange blossom, as I said. This one also has honeysuckle, and honeysuckles to me are the happiest flowers, some of the happiest flowers next to the orange blossom and things like that. So this is neroli, honeysuckle, pomelo, Italian tangerine, orange blossom. Just sunshine in a bottle in floral form. The fruits are there too, but if you ever look at a citrus tree and you see the orange blossoms blossoming there, that gives me really major pleasure. It's just really beautiful to look at and to go under and smell, and that just gives me major happiness. And this actually acts like it. So Nectar from Commodity, wonderful offering. This next one's from the House of Mancera. It's Soleil d'Italy. It's loads of citruses, bright, sparkling, juicy citruses here. Lots of them. It's loads of citruses like bitter orange, lime, there's mandarin orange, bergamot. Citruses are the happiest fruits ever, and they give me joy. I look at them and they're just bright, and just, it's almost like when you look at them, they're smiling back at you because of those beautiful colors, the yellows, the oranges, and greens, and pink for pink grapefruit and things like that. Just very, very happy. This is all those citruses plus some aquatic notes, and there's musk in here as well. I think if you're down, spritz some of this on. Very, very happy fragrance. There's a bit of saltiness in there. I think it's coming from the sprayer, but no, I think the aquatic touches give me a little bit of a saltiness, but it's all citruses. So that's Mancera's Soleil d'Italy. We got one more here, and I'm going to give you a few bonus budget options as well. This is Aqua Media Cologne Forte. This one's also cozy, comfy. It's also verbena, so there's the lemony touches with the aromatic qualities. There's bergamot here as well. Loads of musks and hedione. The hedione is basically the jasmine note, but there's also the sweet fennel. But it acts like tea. It's cozy, it's fresh, it's refreshing, it's sparkling, and just a happy fragrance in a bottle. It's green. Green is a good color to look at, to wake up your senses and things like that. But in the end, it's all about the juice inside, and this juice makes me happy. If you don't have any of these fragrances, start, collecting some, buying them. And of course, as I said, I have a few budget options that I'm going to recommend as well. For example, here, Le Monde Gourmand Clementine Bisou. It's like basically clementine kiss. This is a budget fragrance for around $25 for a 30 ml. But wow, this smells so realistic. The mandarin or clementine note is so juicy, zesty, fresh. Just spritz it on and just you'll be happy with that. It's amazing the way that smells. Then 4711's blood orange and basil. It's basically very juicy blood orange with the aromatic greenness, herbal touches of the basil. Uplifting, totally happy, just gets you started with your day, wakes up your senses. And then finally, Bentley for Men Silver Lake. It's silver, it's metallic, but there's lots of aromatics and citruses here, and watery ozonic touches, and lavender is also present. It does create a bit of a metallic touch, but it's the juicy aquatic citruses that are in here that'll give you some major uplifting touches and, you know, wake you up and, you know, get you going in your day. Or if you're having a down day, feeling sad and things like that, just, you know, smell some of these fragrances, as I said. The last three fragrances are the budget fragrances, and hopefully that helps you out. This is a shorter version of the uplifting fragrances video. Please go catch the other one if you haven't watched it yet. And then this one, I didn't mention at the beginning, all these little questions will be separated and aired separately as well. So you'll be able to search uplifting fragrances in this video, or any of the other questions that I did so far and will do after this will have their own separate videos. But if you have any other recommendations for uplifting fragrances, also please put a comment down below so we can find out. All right, the next one is two questions back to back, but about the same topic. So we got question number 7, asking about Dior Homme Parfum, and then also question number 8, asking about Dior Homme Parfum, but they're asking different things about the fragrance. The first question at number 7, I'm subscribed to your YouTube channel. You do a great job. I'm interested in purchasing Dior Homme Parfum 2020, but I can't find it anywhere online. Do you know if this fragrance is discontinued? Brad D, it says. And then question number 8, I'm going to answer both of them in the same segment. Good evening, Sebastian. I hope this email finds you well. I'm a big fan of your channel and your work, and I recently watched your video on Dior Homme Parfum. While I've mostly been interested in niche or fragrance house colognes in the past few years, your video has piqued my interest in trying out the Dior Homme Parfum. However, I've run into a bit of confusion during my research. I've been searching for the Parfum version online, but I keep coming across the Eau de Toilette version the most. The only website I've found that carries the Parfum version is Fragrance Lord, but the price is a bit higher than what I had in mind, closer to $200. I'm wondering if you could advise me on whether the EDT version could be a good alternative, or if the EDP version is the one with the distinct scent that everyone raves about. I appreciate any advice or suggestions you can offer. Best regards, Ezekias, I think that's how you say the name. So it's two different questions. I'll answer the first question. Dior Homme Parfum, where to buy it? So this is Dior Homme Parfum. It's the 100 ml version, launched in 2020. Originally, the 2014 version came in a 75 ml bottle, and they were a little different. I believe the original was certainly more dense and thicker, but I've been happy with the 100 ml version, but it has gotten a little lighter than the original. So maybe that's why it's now coming in 100 ml. So it's softened up a little bit, lightened up a little bit, and so they can, you know, give you more juice, but you're going to spray more to make it last longer. So where do you buy it from? Let me tell you the story. There's been so many stories about this. It's actually on a database online. Wiki Parfum claims that it's discontinued. And I started saying it was discontinued after I saw that they were saying it was discontinued. But it's not discontinued. Last year, when I went to... I've been to France twice already this year. And late last year, I went to... Well, actually, I went to France in September or October last year. And I saw Dior Homme Parfum selling. It's not selling widely, but it's still selling. It's never been distributed in the States. In fact, Dior Homme Intense hasn't either, I don't think. The only one that came to the States is Dior Homme, the original. And then there's Dior Homme 2020, which is completely different than the original Dior Homme. And then it's considered Dior Homme as well. So there's two Dior Hommes. One's called Dior Homme Original, which is the only fragrance that used to be. Now they have the Dior Homme 2020, which is more of a American fragrance or a US fragrance, but I think it's selling everywhere. We've had the Dior Homme Cologne here as well. We've also had the Dior Homme Sport. So those are the 3 versions. But Dior Homme Parfum is still selling. It's not selling very easy. Like, you can't find it everywhere. Some of the places put them under stock, so you have to ask. They don't even put a tester, like the Printemps store in Paris. But I've been to Dior perfume shops and they have them there, like they'll sell them. And recently in March, when I was coming back at the airport, I noticed that they had it for around 150 euros at the Paris airport, Charles de Gaulle. And if you bought 2, it went down to around $112 or 112 euros each. So I brought back 2. It's not very easy to find, but if you want to get a bottle, it's about $180 over at Fragrance Buy, and I've got it linked in the info box. Hopefully by the time this video airs, they're still selling some. They've had stock there since November of last year, or maybe a little earlier. So those of you that are in the market, get it, because it's costly to go to France and bring it. And even though its suggested retail is around 150 euros, with the conversion, it's maybe close to around 170. So yeah, I mean, it's around 180 selling on Fragrance Buy, and that's the place you can buy it currently. It's mail order. You would order it from Canada. It would be shipped to the USA. If you're in Canada, perhaps in Canada. But if you're in Europe, check stores there. You should be able to find it. But that's how or where you would buy it. Now the differences. I'm going to go over the differences here between all of the fragrances. So Dior Homme Cologne has gone through multiple variations. And this is the 2022 version. Dior Homme Cologne is the softest, but it's not my least favorite. Absolutely love this, but it's very light. Smell-wise, it's amazing. Although it has gotten even softer compared to the previous version. But still, I really love it. It's powdery, it's citrusy, and it's floral. And of course, it's musky. But this one doesn't, they don't claim that the iris is in here. And the Dior Homme DNA is known for the iris. So they claim that the iris is not here, but maybe it is because I'm getting powdery touches, or maybe it's coming from the white musk. It's quite musky and it's very fresh and clean. I think it'll be great for a hot day. Or once again, you can also use this to use as a mood booster, something uplifting, because it's such a gorgeous smell. Really wonderful. Very citrusy and very musky. And so this is the lightest, and you can get this in the States. It's distributed here in the States. I don't know if stores carry them, but the Dior USA website carries this. So you can order it there. Next, I'm going to talk to you about the Dior Homme Sport, and there is a 2021 version that stores are selling here. No, I think you can get the cologne at stores as well. I think Neiman Marcus has it at the Dior department. And I bought this bottle of Dior Homme Sport at the Neiman Marcus here. Unfortunately, the Dior Homme Sport is my least favorite of the Dior Homme fragrances. I think it's an unnecessary fragrance personally. Although it's no de toilette, I wish Dior Homme Cologne, even though I think this is called Dior Homme Cologne, I believe the concentration is eau de toilette, from what I remember once before, but they could have changed it. Doesn't say. So maybe they did make it back to, because at one time I think the concentration was eau de toilette, even though it was called, it doesn't really say. So then perhaps it's a cologne. But Dior Homme Sport is an eau de toilette. It's Italian lemons, aldehydes, Calabrian bergamot, elemi resin, pink pepper, frankincense, woods, and amber. I guess it's okay, but between all of the fragrances, I don't like this one as much. It's just kind of a boring scent. It's citrusy, it's spicy, it's resinous, it's a bit smoky, and I think the combination is not working well. At least this version, the 2021 version, I preferred the previous version more, which I have a bottle and I've stored it away because it's been replaced by this. But this is what you can buy now. If you like the idea, go with it. But to me, it doesn't smell like the DNA that I really love. The Dior Homme Parfum DNA, which is my favorite. We'll get to that in a little bit. So we've got Dior Homme Original, which is sadly we've got a little bit left in here. Really little bit. I first discovered this collection in 2014. Although I was traveling to France constantly, I would skip the Dior Homme fragrances, and not sure why. But I first discovered it in 2014. And then Macy's launched Dior Homme Eau, which is no longer, which would have been here if it was still selling. So it was a watery, aquatic, or maybe slight marine take on the DNA, which I didn't care for. The original is a fresh take on the DNA that I really love. It's iris, cardamom, vetiver, lavender, patchouli, cocoa, amber, sage, bergamot, and leather. So the leather is not as potent. It's basically, like I said, the DNA with the iris that I really, really love. Just a fresher version of it, but not as fresh as the cologne. And to me, the cologne also doesn't smell like the original. Doesn't whatsoever. Maybe very minute amounts of it. But there's something sexy about the original Dior Homme DNA. Not the 2020 Dior Homme, which is getting confusing now. But the original the original DNA. The original launched, I believe, sometime in the 2000s, 2005, 2007. I never was into it at that time, and I believe it was created by Hedi Slimane, who is now part of Celine. So he was the creative director for that fragrance, and people swear by that original Dior Homme, which was the first version of it. But if you're looking for Dior Homme Original, make sure you get Dior Homme Original and not Dior Homme 2020, which is this, and they're completely different fragrances. Dior Homme Original will smell like iris. It's powdery, but still fresh. Dior Homme 2020 is woods. Lots of woods and spices. So, Dior Homme 2020 launched in 2020, and it was a complete departure from the DNA of the original Dior Homme. Sure, it's a pleasant fragrance. I prefer it over Dior Homme Sport. But it's just woods. Haitian vetiver, musk, atlas cedar, patchouli, pink pepper, elemi, and bergamot. It's fresh, it's woody, it's pleasant. If you're looking for something nondescript, not too exciting, I wouldn't call this a very exciting fragrance because a lot of it is just woods. There's some resinous touches and some citruses in there and spices, but it's mostly woods. You'll be happy with it, but make sure you don't think you're getting the original Dior Homme with the iris, and you end up with the Dior Homme 2020. And here's the other thing. The original Dior Homme, which is the Dior Homme Original, as you can see right there, is not really sold here in the States unless you get them at a discounter, if they end up at the discounter. And I don't know how widely distributed this is, and I don't even know if this is still selling. Hopefully it is. But Dior Homme 2020 is the one that's sold here in the States, and a lot of people go there and buy it, and they'll be like, what is this? It doesn't smell like anything that reviewer was talking about. What did I end up getting here? So you might do that. So be warned. Make sure to get Dior Homme Original when you buy Dior Homme. That's definitely very, very important. So the next fragrance is the Dior Homme Intense. This is where it gets really sexy. So I bought my first Dior Homme fragrance out of everything as Dior Homme Intense, probably around 2014 or 2013. Somewhere around there. And instantly loved it, and I loved the DNA, and I was obsessed with the way it smells. Here's this version. So is this a 2020 version? Did they redo it in 2020? Because online it says 2011, but I believe they redid it in 2020, correct? Anybody know this? So it's basically taking the original, Dior Homme Original, not the 2020 version, which was the only version around at the time, and intensifying it and amplifying it. So this version, Dior Homme Intense, is Eau de Parfum. The one that I always rave and recommend and suggest is the Dior Homme Parfum, which is a parfum concentration, and I'll get to that in a little bit. So this is amplified. The freshness is gone from the Dior Homme Original, and they've added, of course, they amplified the iris. There's ambrette here, lavender, pear, cedar, vetiver. It's super sexy. It's really, really good. If we did not have Dior Homme Parfum, this would be amazing. This is amazing. This is fantastic. So it's a great alternative for Dior Homme Parfum. If you can't get a bottle of Dior Homme Parfum, go with the Dior Homme Intense, because it's somewhat similar, missing the leather that's in here and the kind of like oudi notes that are in here. But other than that, it's just a fresher take on the Parfum, a more concentrated take on the original. But it's super sexy. It'll do. If you can't find a Parfum, this will do fine. But look for the Parfum. But my first venture into this collection was with the Intense around 2013, 2014. But they redid the Dior Homme Parfum in 2020, and this is the version to look for if you're looking for this collection. This is the best. For me, it's the best. I absolutely love this. I love that whole intense, dense, powdery effect that's in here, along with the iris, the sandalwood, the leather, ambrette, oud, cedar, rose, orange. It's so amazing. The combination is amazing. And again, Parfum is the best. The Intense is an EDP, Eau de Parfum. The Dior Homme original is an Eau de Toilette. Dior Homme 2020 is an Eau de Toilette. Dior Homme Sport is an Eau de Toilette. And I believe the Dior Homme Cologne is Eau de Cologne now. Anyway, hopefully that answers the questions. If you are looking for a bottle of Dior Homme Parfum, get it from Fragrance Buy. They still have bottles. I have a link in the info box. Anyway, thanks so much for watching this portion of the video. Let's go on to the next question. Question number 9. Hi Sebastian, your videos are always the best to me. Sad that you have a block on your channel at the moment. Keep up the good work. I will watch your videos and enjoy them. I recently bought a bottle of Tonka Imperial and I got very lucky. It was the last bottle at Neiman. Thanks to your video of discontinued fragrances, I was able to get a hold of it before it disappeared. I also love vanilla scents. I own and recently bought my girlfriend a bottle of Vanagloria, which you speak a lot about on your channel. Anyway, keep up the amazing work, and would you recommend to me a Tonka fragrance that is unique? Regards. So yes, Tonka Imperial is discontinued. In fact, I just did another discontinued fragrances video, and I mentioned in that video that the Neiman Marcus here in San Francisco had 5 bottles. So if you were in the market, hopefully you were able to get a bottle. It's discontinued, and it was a really great fragrance from Guerlain, but I think because they launched that extract version, maybe that's why they got rid of it. I don't know why they would get rid of it. I thought it was a pretty popular fragrance for them. But as far as unique Tonka bean fragrances go, I have to give you guys a heads up. I'm not allowed to share the info on the actual fragrance yet. I was able to preview an amazing fragrance from a brand that's launching a Tonka focused fragrance in extract form. And it is so good. I wore it recently during my travels is when I discovered it. It lasts a long time. It's super amazing. It's a bit tobacco-ish. It's gourmand. It's delicious. I will report on that once that's launched. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a big hit for the brand. And I think they really need a big hit because they're a smaller house. But in the meantime, original Tonka bean fragrances, I'm going to start off with Tonka Bodycon from Pierre Guillaume. This fragrance actually is a little similar to the fragrance that's launching, but not quite. It's kind of the gourmand way that the fragrance is. It's also boozy, the other one. And this also has a little booziness as well, but all 5 of the fragrances I'm going to talk to you about here are truly original on their own. They're not smelling like one another. They also don't smell like the Tonka Imperial from Guerlain, even though they're all featuring and focusing on the Tonka bean note. So Pierre Guillaume's Tonka Bodycon 31 is fruity, it's vanillic, it's ambery and boozy, and there's some nuttiness in there and honey touches as well. It's super delicious. I really love wearing this one. It smells fantastic on me, and I love. It makes me even love Tonka beans further when I put this on. And as you can see, I've worn quite a bit of. It's so good, so good. So that's a great original Tonka bean fragrance that won't smell like any of the other ones I'm going to recommend to you here. This next one's from the house of Laboratorio Olfativo. It's Tonkad is what I should say right there. Tonkad features notes of tonka beans in the top and base notes. In the heart notes features vanilla and also in the base notes. Then it features dried fruits, cashmeran, incense, ambery woods, cardamom, and neroli. Once again, truly original tonka bean, nothing like the one I just spoke about. But there's a vanillic touch about this one, an overdose of tonka with vanilla, with a slight fruitiness that comes in, and muskiness. With the smoke, there's smoke cutting through, but you know what? This one also kind of wears a little milky on me, which the more I wear it, the more milkiness it kind of starts, experiencing the milkiness is what I should say, which makes it kind of unique. Like tonka milk, it's a great concept, and it smells delicious. Not as gourmand, I would say, as the previous one. This one's a bit more woody. The smokiness and all that kind of stuff is, and the ambery woods is, taking it away from acting gourmand. But there's a cozy, creamy, milky quality about this that the other one doesn't have. and it makes for a different take on Tonka beans. Again, nothing like the Tonka Imperial from Guerlain, or also the Fève Delicieuses. None of these also smell like Fève Delicieuses. So they're completely unique Tonka bean fragrances. If you're a fan of Tonka, you got to get your nose on all of these. So this is Tonkade from the house of Laboratorio Olfativo. So this is a woody take on Tonka beans. This is Van Cleef & Arpels Bois Doré. This one comes off as a polished, gourmand, woodsy experience for me. It's Tonka beans with vanilla. There's tobacco, teak wood, musk, black pepper, cedar, mineral notes. And there's definitely a spicy pepperiness about this one. You'll really truly experience it. But it's lots of Tonka with vanilla, and there's the tobacco that comes in. But I think it's the teak wood that's giving me a polished woods experience with lots of sweet vanillic Tonka nuttiness spread all over it. It acts really, really great. And once again, it's completely different than any of the other fragrances I'm talking about, and also completely unique from from Guerlain's Tonka Imperial. Totally different, and I like that. You know, I don't want the fragrances to smell identical, because if I have one that smells like this, do I want another one that smells like that? Not really. So this Bois Doré is really, really great. If you haven't tried it, please do. And then here's another one that's completely different. Montal's Arabians Tonka. Most popular fragrance from this house, I think. This is a really interesting fragrance because they launched Arabians, and I was not a fan of at all. In fact, I hated it. I didn't say I hated it, but it's borderline close to it because I don't care for that fragrance. But this is like a 180 complete different fragrance going to the gourmand direction. A little bit of a Baccarat Rouge thing happening in here as well, with some kind of a ambroxan muskiness that's in here. But it's sugar, Tonka beans, oud, saffron, rose, amber, musk, bergamot, and oak moss. And the rose is very unique in this also. It's just a nice amount of floral touches. And Montal and Mancera do really great work with gourmands and roses. Almost sounds like Guns N' Roses. Gourmands and roses. But anyway, this is Arabian's Tonka. Wonderful offering from that house. And the last fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is Velvet Tonka. All the Tonka fragrances. Once again, completely different. What I like about this one is going into a little bit of a Love Don't Be Shy direction because it's got orange blossom in here. And so it makes for this very unique Love Don't Be Shy like creamy, marshmallowy, vanilla orange blossom thing with the addition of the overdose of Tonka beans and almonds in here, which is like a dessert. It's basically like a dessert. It says a Middle Eastern dessert come to life. This one also has tobacco, has rose, don't forget the bourbon vanilla, and then of course amyris and amberwood. It's super, super delicious. My second favorite fragrance from this house. I absolutely love it. It's a really delicious gourmand, reminding me of something like I said, nuttiness mixed in with the Love Don't Be Shy DNA. It's great. This is a Velvet Tonka. The last fragrance I'm going to talk to you about here. Hopefully these fragrances are something that this person is going to be, excited about checking out. These are very unique to me and completely different. Nothing like Tonka Imperial and or Fève Delicieuses. And of course, stay tuned to find out about that wonderful Tonka bean fragrance that's launching soon. I will report on it as soon as I can. It is fantastic. Although, if you've been following me on Instagram, you probably already saw me post about it. I've been told I'm not supposed to share, so I feel bad I shared on Instagram. But it's still there. The post is there. You can go find out what it is by flipping through the posts. But again, amazing, amazing Tonka bean fragrance that's going to launch sometime in the fall. I can't wait for this fragrance because it's so good. I wore it several times, and people love the way the fragrance smells. Anyway, stay tuned for that, and hopefully you found some great unique Tonka bean fragrances here with this portion of the video. Question number 10. Hi Sebastian, your videos are great. I have learned a lot from them. You have expanded my tastes well beyond my old favorites, Rive Gauche and Polo Green. I luckily still have old bottles of both. I have a question. Is it sacrilege to feel that Alberto Morilla's fresh fragrance all kind of dried down the same? I have noticed that Profumo, Profundo, D&G Light Blue Intense, Mise en Cere's Blue Gin, and Epine de Rose all finish with the same fuzzy skin scent. I love the openings and mids, a little short-lived. Just a few hours in, they all kind of smell the same. Have you found that at all? Maybe my nose still has to develop more. Thanks, Nate. Well, you are onto something because most likely Alberto Morilla's does have a base. He probably goes from one to the other, and they all dry down similarly. For me, I notice this the most in a style of fragrance he does a lot of that I can't stand. His marine fragrances all smell the same, not only in the dry down, but in the top and the heart. Yeah, there's some differences about it, but to me, he's using the same ingredients from one to the other. In fact, maybe just twisted a little bit, because that's why they remind me of so many other fragrances he's created. And again, this to me is mostly about his marine and aquatic fragrances. In fact, I've noticed it also in the Mise en Cire collection, which he is the perfumer of. So perhaps he's using some DNA and he just basically adjusts the top and the heart, and then the base is the same, and easy way to make fragrances. I'm not 100% sure this is exactly what's going on, but when Nate is saying this about the fragrances, and I've noticed this quite a bit as well. But you know, honestly, perfumers do this. Also, he works for one firm, and all of the perfumes he creates are under this firm that has certain types of ingredients they're allowed to use. So there's that familiarity. I mean, I've actually noticed some of the ingredients smelling the same from one perfumer to the other perfumer that are under the same firm. So this can happen that way as well. But for me, Alberto Morilla's marine aquatic fragrances all smell the same, from top to the heart to the base. They start the same, they dry down the same with some minor twists. But maybe try some other fragrances. I don't know, other fragrances from other perfumers was what I'm going to say, or what I was going to say. But yeah, if you've smelled the Armani's, he's done quite a bit of the Acqua di Gio line. The guy's been making fragrances since the late 70s, I believe. I've seen his name come up for fragrances that were launched in the late 70s. So it makes sense. And he's been with Firmenich for how long? 30 years? 40? I don't know how long Firmenich has been around. But I think he's created Firmenich fragrances from the early 90s, right? He did Calvin Klein CK1. I think he was at Firmenich when he did that one. And Acqua di Gio, the original, was there too. So the ingredients are the same, and he's got this, you know, quick formula maybe he's using. And then I just sometimes wonder, how are the brands not seeing this? Like, I mean, it doesn't only happen with Alberto Morilla's, is what I should say. It happens with a lot of other perfumers as well. And in fact, some perfumers copy themselves from one to the other, going from one brand to the other. I mean, similar fragrances. Dominic Ropian for Vanagloria and Baby Cat. Yeah, people say it's not the same, but to me it's kind of a similar DNA. But, you know, perfumers do that, and I just wish that brands would be able to catch these kind of things that the perfumers do. But are brands not really smelling a lot of fragrances? They probably are smelling a lot of mods, so they should be able to catch it. But, you know, I smell a lot of fragrances, and a lot of fragrances smell very much alike, especially, like I said, the marine aquatics that Alberto Morilla's does. And again, it's not just him, it's a lot of different perfumers. I guess we need to just expand our horizons and try different things, but it might not be worth buying that fragrance and that fragrance from the same brand when it's in the same collection and it's just a minor twist. Profundo, Profumo. So many flankers in the Armani Acqua di Gio fragrances. I'm bored of that collection, actually, quite bored. And I bought the Parfum recently. It wasn't that wowed by it. But the original Acqua di Gio I wore so much of in the late 90s. And it smelled so vibrant and robust. Now it's weak. And again, all the flankers that are coming out because the original is so weak. And yeah, they do smell alike. Anyway, I hope that answers your question. All right, question number 11. I know you probably get many emails concerning recommendations, etc. But I had a specific question. How do you feel about layering AKRO smoke with Ormonde Jane MONTABACO Intensivo? I feel like they would work well, but I don't have a bottle of the OJ, so looking to see if it might be worth buying. Thanks. So I have a little confusion with Ormonde Jane's MONTABACO. So this is a Parfum concentration. This is what I have. It says MONTABACO Parfum. I don't know the difference between Montabaco and Montabaco Intensivo. So I thought the original Montabaco was in Eau de Parfum. And then this is Montabaco Intensivo, which they dropped the name to Montabaco and called it Parfum. Whatever the confusion is, I'm not really going to dig into that. What I did was I layered AKRO smoke with Ormonde Jane's Montabaco in the Parfum concentration. So here's the thing. I like the idea because Montabaco is a tobacco fragrance. AKRO smoke is a tobacco fragrance, but they're completely different tobacco fragrances. AKRO smoke is an ashy, smoky tobacco fragrance. Montabaco is a leafy tobacco fragrance. So they smell and act completely different. But they're perfect to layer. These two brands make the kind of fragrances that you can layer easily. Whereas some brands make the most dense fragrances, you'll have a lot more challenging time with those. It's doable though. But these two fragrances and these two brands make the kind of fragrances that are much easier to layer with. So AKRO smoke, like I said, is ashy, and you're going to add the ashiness to the leafy tobacco. And I've tried it a couple times. It does work great. The layering is doable and it's definitely wearable. But the thing with the combo, smoke overpowers Montabaco. And even though I feel like Montabaco should be stronger because it's Parfum concentration, and that's what it says on my bottle, Parfum, smoke overpowers it. It's the kind of note that's in the fragrance. The smokiness is overpowering the leafiness of the Montabaco. So you've got to find the right balance. So if you spray 4 sprays of smoke, you're probably going to need to spray 8 sprays of Montabaco. So a better option would be 4 sprays of Montabaco, 2 sprays of smoke. And for me, I always go with the more prominent smell as the first spray. So I sprayed down smoke 4 times one time and 4 times Montabaco, and smoke completely overpowered Montabaco. Then I did the 2 and the 4. I got something, but for me what worked best was 2 smoke, 5 Montabaco, and I got something different where whatever I get from Montabaco, it added a smoky twist. And it made for a longer lasting fragrance because both of these intensify one another, and you know, it gets thicker and lasts a longer time. Whereas for me, smoke does have great lingering power. Unfortunately, Montabaco doesn't, and so it needs it, but also you're altering the smell because you're adding that kind of smoky twist. There's overlapping kind of notes that I think work perfectly together, but then not really, because the tobacco and smoke, like I said, is ashy. It smells like burned, especially with that nicotine and K that's in here that's providing the smokiness. And so with the other, it's more molecular notes and mossy notes, and again, the leafy note of the tobacco leaf in here. And so I think it's a great combo. But maybe look for something else rather than using 2 tobacco kind of ingredients together. But yeah, if you're looking to enhance your Montabaco with the addition of the smoke, the ashy smoke, I think it works great because it did add a great layer of smokiness to whatever you get with Montabaco, and it made for a great wearing experience, and also really substantial, really prominent, really intense. But going back to the 2 brands, I think these 2 brands are perfect layering brands. They're made in a way that there's not a lot of thickness and density, so the fragrances are easier to layer. For me, I find it challenging to take the thickest fragrance, like let's say Red Tobacco from Mancera. That's going to be a very tough fragrance to wear. It's doable though, it's doable. For me, with Red Tobacco, I would add fruits, something really fruity to it, because it could use some fruits, like a syrupy, vanillic fruitiness. So since it's so dense and heavy, you might need to like triple, quadruple the sprays on that to kind of like balance it out. But these 2 brands, they're perfect brands to layer with. Like I said, they're not like these dense fragrances. They're kind of airy fragrances. So leaves room to balance out the fragrances and figure them out more or further when you're testing the layering combo. But for me, 5 sprays of MONTABACO, 2 sprays of AKRO, even 6 worked as well between the two, because the smoke in the AKRO smoke is so heavy, it really takes over, like literally, really takes over. It just makes everything smoky, so you got to balance it out perfectly. But it works. And the last question, question number 12. Hello, Mr. Sebastian. It's an honor for me to pick my mail due to your many emails. If accidentally pick, haha. And subs. By the way, I'm Shin from Philippines. By subscribing to your channel, I'm so blessed to have an influencer like you. You never know how you helped us in searching and having knowledge about scents for a beginner like me and to our community. So this is, can you tell us your thoughts about this trendy solid perfumes and how this may affect the industry on the liquid side? What is your thoughts about the future on this, your advantages and disadvantages, if you have to try any of these kind of product, because me is new for this. So those of you that have been following me, you probably heard me say I'm not a big fan of solids, roller balls or roll-ons. I'm also not a big fan of dabbers. I'm not a fan of atars and things like that. I don't want to diss these products, they just don't work for me. I much prefer the experience of the spray, you know, covering me up rather than dabbing or, you know, doing the roll-on thing with the, you know, solids and things like that. It doesn't mean I haven't tried it. I have tried many different ones. But for me to experience projection and sillage, it's never going to come from these little roll-ons or solids. Or even atars. They don't scream. They're very close, and somebody has to get really close to you to smell you. That's why you don't really see a lot of solids in the market. All the brands I speak about, maybe less than 1% of them have solids in their collection, if they do. Not many do. If a brand is selling solids, that's basically all they're selling is solids. Mostly, most of the time. But I don't think they'll do much dent or damage to the industry because people like to spray and they already know that solids don't provide that, you know, projection and sillage that the sprays do. But some people don't want the sillage and projection. They want something personal and close, but a good pleasant smell. So I think the solids are perfect for those people. But for me, perfume is to spray. You're perfuming it on, spraying it on. I'm not rolling it on. That's not perfume for me. At least not to me. I don't get the pleasure of putting a roll-on or atars on. It just doesn't satisfy me. And I may be the only one. Maybe there's a bunch of people like me out there. But those of you that are watching, let me know your thoughts on solids, atars, oils, roller balls, all these non-sprayable perfumes. What do you guys think about them? Are they here to stay? Are they here to dominate? Will they take away the business of the spray perfumes? I personally don't think so. But maybe in the future, people don't want to spray. They just want to roll on or dab on. Do you think it'll ever get to that stage? I hope not. I just hope not. I love to spray and I love when people smell me. Because when I dab on or a roller ball on or, I don't know, whatever these are, solid on, I don't think I'm going to get noticed. I like getting noticed. Sometimes it's not pleasant, but I really do love getting noticed. Never has ever happened to me with the roller balls or the solids. But has it happened to you guys? Let me know. Put a comment down below, and I hope this answers Shin's question. I'm not a person that talks about this kind of perfuming. It's not me, and I might have dabbled into it here and there once in a blue moon, but I chose not to talk about roller balls or solids. I chose years ago because they just don't give me pleasure. They don't satisfy me. And perfume is to spray and not to dab or, solid on. if that's the right way to say. But like I said, do let me know. Put a comment down below. Do you appreciate these things? I know there's people out there that watch this channel that are not into loud fragrances, not into projection, not into sillage. I think those will work perfect for them. Do let me know if you'd rather spray or if you'd rather dab on or, you know, roll on with the solid. I definitely want to find out because I don't think I'm the only person like this out there. I know there's many, many other people out there like me who'd rather spray than to dab on. But attars might be different versus solids. With attars, it is actually a liquid, but it's still not spray. For me, if I'm ever going to do oils or attars, I want to use that as an enhancer somehow. I want to put the dab on and then spritz more on, so somehow it connects and blends rather than just wear an attar or oil on its own. Because as I said, they never project, they never have sillage, they're very, very personal, they're very close. So I could use it as an enhancer. Like for example, Amouage has the vanilla, I think it's vanilla barca, which I have a tiny little amount of. It's an attar. So I will use that to enhance either Baby Cat or Vanagloria because it's Dominic Ropian who created all three, and they're kind of similar to me. So I will use that to enhance one of the other fragrances, but never on its own. But, you know, somebody might be into the attar and say, that's what I want. Something close and personal, and somebody can get close to me and smell how fantastic I smell with this wonderful, very close to the skin fragrance. But, yeah, definitely not a fan of the roller balls or the solids. And I'm not a fan of the attars either, but like I said, I will use those to enhance another fragrance. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. This very long Your Fragrance Questions Answered video. If you want to send me questions, please do at lfsgquestions@gmail.com. I will try and do one of these every quarter, so 4 a year. It takes a long time to prep, plan, pull the fragrances, shoot them, and then of course edit them. And this video seemed like it was going to be longer than an hour and a half. The previous ones were around an hour and a half, so hopefully this is around the same time. If longer, then I guess it's just another longer video. But also throughout the video, I also mentioned that these questions in portion will be cut up and aired separately as well, so they'll be findable SEO wise and people searching, because people don't search Your Fragrance Questions Answered, but they'll search a certain topic and hopefully they'll be able to find the specific questions. But I will do that after the main video airs, little by little, on days that I don't air any videos, so that it doesn't come off like it's a duplicate. But you know, there's other channels that I watch that do that. They do lives and they cover various topics, and then on the same day they cut them up and air them. But I will not be doing that. But either way, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Please like this video, please share it, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Stay tuned for more Your Fragrance Questions Answered soon. Bye bye.